Okay, conduct of business. First item is adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to submit a One Bay Area grant, OBAG2, Bicycle Pedestrian Improvement Program application to City County Association of Governments for San Mateo County for the Huntington Transit Corridor Bicycle Pedestrian and Related Improvements Project.
Honorable Mayor and City Council members, staff is extremely pleased to present this grant opportunity to you for your consideration. Staff regularly reaches out to other agencies to find out about grant opportunities to help pay for the majority of costs for important city projects and programs. Additionally, staff seeks support for these grant applications from other agencies and related staff to help make them as competitive as possible. Based on staff's outreach, tentative support for this application has been received from a number of agencies, including the San Mateo County Health Department, Caltrain, BART, Samtrans, the San Bruno Chamber of Commerce, the city's Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and the Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition. Show this slide. This grant application relates to obtaining funding to plan, design, and construct important bicycle, pedestrian, and related landscape and other improvements on Huntington Avenue near the city's BART station. These improvements extend from the Centennial Trail on Huntington to San Bruno Avenue, linking South San Francisco to downtown San Bruno. This is an important segment of the city's bicycle and pedestrian network, the network you see behind me on the slide, as it connects the Centennial Trail with San Bruno's BART station, Caltrain station, and downtown and related employment, housing, and retail centers here in San Bruno. The actual scope of the proposed grant application proposes the following. You'll see on the slide here an image of a protected bike lane. You also see a conceptual site plan on the slide for Huntington Avenue in this area. Describing what you see here in the slide is as follows. The rightmost lane along Huntington Avenue going northbound towards South San Francisco and then Centennial Trail would be converted into a two-way cycle track, a protected bicycle lane, with a physically separated concrete barrier with the flexibility to add landscape treatments, as you see here in the image set in the right-hand corner of this slide. On the other side of the street, a sharrow, an arrow and bicycle stencil on the lane would be placed in the rightmost lane going southbound along the designated roadway, designating this as a bike route. Huntington Avenue in this segment from Centennial Trail to San Bruno Avenue would receive a slurry seal treatment along the entire project area. There would be pedestrian scale lighting and other amenities, including public art and landscaping, to create a path-like environment for walking. A consultant would be hired to conduct a traffic study as is required when proposing a lane removal. A lane is proposing to be removed to accommodate the protected bike path, as you see here on the slide. And the information from that analysis could result in design refinement, which would be pursued as necessary. Here in San Bruno, supporting and developing new and existing bicycle and pedestrian networks are major components of the city's capital improvement program, general plan, transit corridors plan, and the recently adopted walk and bike plan. The walk and bike plan is now on our website, and staff has provided to council members copies this evening. A clear objective of these policy documents is to increase usage of the pedestrian and bicycle networks by improving their safety, connectivity, efficiency, convenience, and comfort. Staff believes that the proposed protected two-way cycle track and related improvements on Huntington will achieve this objective. Presently, based on pedestrian and bicycle counts conducted as part of the walk and bike plan, on weekdays within the project area, there are approximately 200 cyclists and about 740 pedestrians during combined peak periods at Huntington and the Centennial Trail. Likewise, there are approximately 140 cyclists and about 1,370 pedestrians at Huntington and San Bruno Avenue within the project area. This segment, is within the Transit Corridors Plan area, where considerable development is anticipated in the future, including up to 1,610 dwelling units, 147,700 square feet of additional retail space, and about 988,000 square feet of new office space. The project area is an important active transport, walking, biking, north-south link and parallel route to El Camino Real, connecting South San Francisco to San Bruno to Millbrae and the respective Caltrain and BART stations. New mixed-use developments are already approved or being considered nearby within the TCP area, including at 406, 418 San Mateo Avenue, the former El Camino Cinema site, 111 San Bruno Avenue, the former First National Bank building, and the Mills Park Shopping Center. Collectively, these projects will result in several hundred new dwelling units and at least 50,000 square feet of new commercial space in proximity to this link. Studies indicate that there are different types of pedestrians and bicyclists. Approximately 60% of potential cyclists fall into the category of interested but concerned. These potential cyclists can be encouraged to ride if they have safe and protected routes. Information gathered during the preparation of the walk and bike plan indicated that both bicyclists and pedestrians had concerns about the level of existing improvements here within San Bruno. Additionally, information gathered during the preparation of the walk and bike plan indicated that adults in San Bruno have higher levels of obesity and heart disease as compared with others in the county, the state, and national populations. The proposed bicycle and pedestrian improvements would encourage and support a growing nearby population to use active transportation alternatives, walking, biking, providing reductions in traffic congestion, greenhouse gas emissions, as well as health benefits. The goal of the OBAG2 grant before you this evening is well aligned with overall city objectives. The purpose of the OBAG2 grant funding is to support local projects that promote active transportation, walking, biking, as well as related improvements like landscaping with the associated benefits I just described. The source of the funding is through the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, MTC. This funding is being administered locally by the City-County Association of Governments for San Mateo County. MTC is providing $396 million over 5 years to Bay Area congestion management agencies. At this time, CCAG has approximately $12 million for grants. The specific grant opportunity type staff is recommending the city pursue is a bicycle pedestrian improvement program grant. Staff estimates the total cost for the Huntington Transit Corridor bicycle pedestrian and related improvements project to be $1.157 million. The minimum local match, given the estimated cost of the project, is $157,000. Competitive points for local match are based on a 2 to 10 scale. 2 points would be awarded for the $157,000. 5 points would be awarded at the next threshold level for a match of $243,000. Staff is recommending this lower end match at the next threshold. No allocation is requested at this time. Should the city be awarded a grant, an allocation request would be brought to the City Council for approval along with funding agreements. Historically, the city has allocated grant match funding from either Measure A, local streets and transportation funds, or gas tax funds. Accordingly, city staff is recommending that the City Council adopt the resolution attached to your staff report authorizing the city manager to submit a One Bay Area Grant, OBAG2, Bicycle Pedestrian Improvement Program application to the County Council of Governments for San Mateo County for the Huntington Transit Corridor Bicycle Pedestrian and Related Improvements Project. That concludes my presentation. I would be pleased to respond to any of your questions. Thank you.
Anything for David at this time?
Through the chair.
Rico?
Want to primarily go as far as, just to go back, the one lane of traffic.
Yes.
So we have two, we're going to go to one.
Yes.
In order to bring this very positive attribute to the community.
Yes.
Have we considered, only because I travel it often,
Uh-huh.
what that's going to do to the flow of traffic and with development and other aspects that are coming in? I know your goal is to get everybody on a bike, but let's just say that doesn't happen. But I mean,
Yeah.
I am very worried
Yeah.
about the bottleneck and about the increased traffic and the area in which we're talking about.
So as part of the application, and in fact, part of the application request is a traffic study. So anytime a lane is removed like this, a traffic study would be required. And if there are concerns like that, the idea would be to look at measures to address, mitigate those concerns. And if there's a need to modify design, the design would be modified. So that is built into the application request. The proposed project, this concept plan, is directly taken out of the walk and bike plan. The idea, as I mentioned in the staff presentation, we know from study, we know from the work that has been done on the walk and bike plan and other work we've done, that to really get a lot of people using our bike paths and walking areas, you need to provide safety. The Class 4 cycle track protected bike lane really does that, and studies show that time and time again. In this vicinity, we've got BART, nearby Caltrain, downtown, and it's a connection, as we all know, from South City linking over to Millbrae and the respective BART and Caltrain stations. With the growth that we expect in this area, we certainly expect more bicyclists. In fact, as we work with the projects I mentioned, each one of these have to have a transportation demand management plan, and in every case, 111 San Bruno Avenue, as we're talking to them, as we conditioned with the plaza, bike storage. So it's very much a part of our planning and our requirements, and in fact, in the TCP area, as you know, we have reduced parking standards with the objective to make this area more transit-friendly, more bicycle and pedestrian-friendly. So we're trying to make sure that the improvements are there, the safety improvements are there to really support the vision of the TCP, the Transit Corridors Plan. And this is a key link, a key segment of it.
Okay. Anything else?
Sure.
Marty?
I think bikes are great. And the bike plan is great. So the data that you were providing, the number of riders, was that in the plan? I wasn't able to locate it.
No, it's not directly in the plan. Part of the contract, though, with the consultant to do the plan was to provide bike counts, pedestrian and bike counts.
Mm-hmm.
And so they did do that so that in cases like this, we would have that baseline information to make applications for grants, and then also over time, as we do improvements, as we develop and expand, we have a baseline to go back to see how many additional bicycle trips we're experiencing, walking trips, et cetera. So I was pretty impressed, actually, to see these current counts, which I shared with you. They are current counts. They're documented, very recent counts. And
I'm sorry, what were they again? There was 200?
I can go back to that.
And those are per day, or?
Those were per day. And I'll present those again. So presently, in this segment, what we're finding is on weekdays, and they looked at 3 peak periods during a weekday. So I combined those numbers. So on a particular weekday, the numbers are as follows. Cyclists at Centennial Way in Huntington, that was a bike count and a walk count location. 200 cyclists and 740 pedestrians. Then at the other end of this segment, at Huntington and San Bruno Avenue, 140 cyclists and 1,370 pedestrians, and that's in a day, combined 3 different time frames. So actually, those time frames were about 2 hours each, so there were other periods that were not counted, and so these are conservative numbers. So the numbers are actually probably quite a bit higher, actually.
Sure. So, did this prioritization go through BPAC, that this is what they recommended?
We've discussed this with BPAC, and BPAC actually is meeting this very evening and has this on their agenda. We've reviewed this with the chair, and my understanding from the chair was he was supportive. I would anticipate, I can't speak for BPAC, they are meeting this evening, met probably earlier, but they were looking at this very item this evening, and there seemed to be general support for this approach and this item.
Great. So, taking away a lane and thinking that we're going to get so many more people taking bikes out of all the development, that the numbers you were quoting there, it seems like it could be a mess by the traffic trying to go north, and they're going to have to find a way they're going to come up San Bruno Avenue and then come up El Camino, but I guess we have to wait for the traffic study. Do we have any data on accidents that these bicyclists, is it safe through there?
Safer than El Camino.
Do we have any data on accidents or?
There is data. There was data collected during the walk and bike plan. I'd have to look at that to determine exactly what that data was. But as we've indicated in the staff presentation, there is no question that with a protected bike lane, a cycle track, that a larger number of bicyclists will come out to use such a facility because of the safety and comfort. The information we have, and we've done a lot of study on this, there are about 60% of the bicyclists, they're concerned about getting out and riding about because of safety concerns. As we provide these facilities, more people will come out. The TCP is all about being transit friendly, supporting transit, walking, biking, connections. And this link, this segment, connects from Centennial Trail basically to San Bruno Avenue, our Caltrain station. As we move on into the future, we'll be going through downtown. We're looking at a separate grant for bicycle racks throughout the downtown and beyond. We hope in the future to look at San Antonio and further to the south and make that improvement in terms of bicycle safety and convenience and comfort further to the south toward Millbrae. So this is one step, but with Centennial Trail, BART, Caltrain downtown, the development I described in this area, it's a key area. And, the area will transform. And we do expect and do hope that with these facilities, that as we look at expansion in our business park, our Bay Hill Office Park, and the development in the downtown area, the TCP, that more and more people will be using bikes and walking.
Right. So I'm not doubting any of that. I totally agree with that. I'm concerned about the price. I'm concerned $243,000, not including the traffic study, not including staff's additional time. That's just for the construction side of the project. And then, no?
Pardon me, if I could, that
Sure.
actually includes all costs, and it does include the traffic study. So,
Okay, so just the way it was worded, that a separate traffic study is needed, but it's
No.
included in the budget.
it is included. That is correct.
Okay. And the other part, I understand we have to go segments, but the next idea is that we're going to go all the way through to San Antonio, to San Antonio, all the way south of the city.
Well, eventually.
Right.
And again, as I mentioned, we are looking for grants. Part of the walk and bike plan, the intent really in your direction was as we put together that walk and bike plan, we were very clear, and you were very clear actually to us, that you wanted us to go out and look for grants to implement the suggested improvements there. And we are doing that and would continue to do that.
No, I appreciate that, and I think it's great that you're pursuing the grants. I'm just expressing my concern about costs. I'm expressing my concern about maintenance of these plantings that we're going to be adding, the lighting. I feel that we have neighborhoods that are don't even have light right now. We have other parts of our infrastructure that are failing or will be failing soon that we have no budget for. Taking money away to put in a lane that we're going to take a lane of traffic away. And I understand this is a grant, and we're going to proceed with it.
Right.
And we see based on whether we get it, would be great. But evaluating where is the money that would normally go to our streets is not going to go to our streets. It's going to go to this one bike lane. So that's my concern of we did approve the bike plan, but it's very expensive. And we're doing a little tiny piece of the whole area because how you're going to get from the end of the Caltrain station to downtown on a bike, and then how you get anywhere else is it's just a little piece that costs a lot of money. That's I'm concerned with, and I'm fearful of the amount of money that we're going to be spending that's needed in so many other places, and those are my concerns.
Anything else? Irene?
Well, I'm very excited about the idea. Yes, $200,000 is a lot of money, but in the overall picture of the over $10 million that we conceptually approved of the bike and pedestrian plans that we approved several times over and everyone else approved several times over, this is a fabulous start. You're connecting one bike path that South San Francisco has all the way down to the Caltrain station. I've had occasion to go to the Caltrain station several times in the last couple of weeks, and you see people all the time with their bicycles on and off the train, and they get off the train and they ride their bikes, and this will be a safe way for them to do it, and both back and forth from South San Francisco to San Bruno to get on the train station, because the South San Francisco train station is not in that area. They can't get from there to here to there on their bike path. So I think it's a fabulous way to get people off their cars. So South San Francisco people won't have to drive on Huntington to get to the Caltrain station. They'll be able to use their bike. So that's a way to do it. The other piece of that is, yes, we will have more things to do. Yes, it'll always cost more money. But this is, even if we do nothing else, this is a fabulous connection between the Caltrain station and South San Francisco and BART. People go on on San Bruno Caltrain, they get off, they go to the BART station because it goes to Oakland or it goes to wherever, and they take their bicycles because parking is horrible everywhere else too. So I for one think it's great. I'm glad you all pursued this grant, and I hope we continue to pursue grants.
Good. Anyone else? Ken?
Yes, I just want to echo what Irene says. South San Francisco built Centennial Path with grants. The city of San Bruno did the bike and ped plan with a grant. This is the trend, and as much as I share the concerns about the traffic, but we have to change our mindset. It's just Huntington. El Camino, there's already talk about how to streamline things and take care of traffic on El Camino. You can't mix vehicles with bicycles on El Camino. We have to give some priority to the bicycles and pedestrians, in that part of there. And the linkage is key with South San Francisco. That has been, as I've served on the county BPAC committee, South Bay has linkage throughout. It's one community after another, up to Redwood City, and including San Mateo. North County does not. South San Francisco has taken the lead, and there's been no linkage between South City and south of Millbrae. So I think this is doing our part. You didn't even mention the amount of development is just going to be just north of our city, in South San Francisco, which is, going to contribute to things also. So I think this is very good. I particularly like the thought process in increasing the match amount because I know that catches the scorer's eyes because, if a city's serious about doing a project, they have the funds, they get the points, and so you're competing with who knows how many other cities that are going to be submitting projects for the grants. So I think we have a really good chance. I'm really looking forward. I'm proud to see that we'll have this project coming through.
Just real quick, if applying for the grant goes forward, grant is achieved, and the traffic study comes back, doesn't look good, or we don't have the means or the availability in which to create additional space, because again, my colleague, I know what he meant when he said, it's just Huntington, space in Huntington. A lot of people travel that because they don't want to go to El Camino, and because they are linking in between the transportation. So I think we're underestimating the amount of traffic there, and maybe because I happen to travel a lot, so maybe it's a personal issue. But let's say it comes back and it might be daunting. Then what?
Well, step one is to do the traffic study. And based on the information that comes back, and that's part of the requirement, part of the package, part of the overall package here. If there's a need to modify the design, I wouldn't know what that would be exactly at this point in time, but based on the information coming back from the traffic study, there may be a need to modify the design. So we would look at that with CCAG staff and still try to achieve the maximum amount of safety that we can within the context of this area. So traffic study first. Our preference, obviously, is the Class 4 cycle track, protected bike lane. That's the objective. In terms of the landscaping, in terms of cost, what we show here on the image, you see that there's some landscaping. We would hope that this barrier, this divider, would provide protection, but we also will look at cost and maintenance. And if there's an opportunity to be within cost and have some landscape treatment, we'll look at that. If there's a concern about maintenance and cost, we'll look at that as well. So we've provided enough budget to provide some landscaping, but that could be pulled away. But my basic response is the traffic study comes first. We'll evaluate what comes back, and if we need to modify the design, we will, focusing on safety.
Okay, and that's a little more reassuring, and obviously, public has the ability to input. It comes back to the council for direction and or modification and or going forward. Is that a fair statement?
That's a fair statement.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Action by the council? Irene?
I'd like to introduce, am I looking at the right thing? Introduce the resolution?
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Rico Medina.
Aye.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Marty Medina.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye.